The Platinum X DF series of power supplies from Enermax featured patented dust-free rotation fan technology and a DF switch for users to activate DFR anytime during operation. Units range up to 1200 watts with an 80+ platinum rating while maintaining a compact length of just 160mm, and new sleeved cables give your build an extra clean look right out of the box. Click the link in the description below to learn more.
What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're watching this on the day of upload, Intel has just launched its 8th gen core CPU family, codenamed Coffee Lake, and its new Z370 platform with the LGA 1151 socket. I've spent the last couple days testing the flagship Core i7 8700K against its predecessor, the Kaby Lake Core i7 7700K, and one of its close competitors, the AMD Ryzen 7 1700, to see how these CPUs stack up in a gaming environment. Taking a quick side-by-side look at today's contenders, the 8700K sports 2 more cores than its older brother and 2 fewer cores than the Ryzen 1700, though it does hold the faster turbo frequency of the group. While both Intel SKUs are capable of hitting much higher speeds than our AMD part, they're also packing higher TDPs, which may require hefty aftermarket coolers, especially if you plan to overclock. The Wraith Spire that's bundled with the relatively low-powered Ryzen 1700, however, makes the chip ready to use out of the box at no additional cost to the user. We are dealing with a fully unlocked lineup today, but we'll be testing the CPUs at their stock speeds with hyperthreading and SMT enabled. 3 separate test beds were assembled for our Z370, Z270, and X370 platforms using the hardware and drivers that you see here. To keep our test CPU bound, I used a stock GTX 1080 Ti Founders Edition for all games at 1920 by 1080. That being said, I also ran a few non-gaming tests in order to better position these CPUs overall. So starting with Handbrake, the 8700K takes the lead by encoding a 5-minute 4K file in 261 seconds, blowing its predecessor out of the water and slightly edging out the Ryzen 1700, albeit with fewer cores and threads. In Cinebench, Ryzen takes home the multi-threaded victory, beating out the 8700K by 10%. With its higher core count, the 8700K trounces the 7700K by 39%. This is the biggest single-generation leap in multi-threaded performance that we've seen from Intel's mainstream platform in ages. Yay, competition. As you might expect, the 8700K wins in single-threaded marks here, crushing the Ryzen 1700 by a 41% lead and beating the 7700K by a smaller margin. Already it seems the 8th gen hexacores are keeping pace with Ryzen in both single and multi-threaded performance, something Kaby Lake failed to do earlier this year. In 3D Mark Firestrike Extreme, we see the 8700K pull ahead of Ryzen by 6%, with a modest 2.4% increase over the 7700K. Interestingly enough, Coffee Lake yielded the lowest graphics score in the bunch during this test. Kicking off our gaming benchmarks with Ashes of the Singularity, the 8700K secures an underwhelming victory against the 7th gen flagship, but cuts through the Ryzen 1700 by 55% in average frame rates and 62% in 1% lows. Battlefield 1 tells a similar story between our Intel chips, though the gain over Ryzen is much smaller this time by 6%. As a CPU-intensive game, it is nice to see AMD keeping up in this title. Based on the results in GTA 5, it's pretty clear there aren't huge gains to be had in the gaming department going from Kaby Lake to Coffee Lake, but they do tell us Intel is still the gaming champ by a landslide. The 8700K tops the Ryzen 1700 once again, this time by 35% in average FPS. In Hitman, the 8700K saw its biggest improvement over the 7700K with 1% lows and average frame rate scoring 11 to 12% higher. Here the new hexacore maintains a fierce upper hand against Ryzen by 40% in average frame rates. Finishing with Metro Last Light, the 8700K scores an average FPS 26% higher than the Ryzen 1700 and 8% higher than the 7700K, reaffirming the behavioral patterns we've seen thus far. Now if we break down all of the average frame rates, the 8700K gets a 4.5% bump over its predecessor, meaning if you're currently rocking a Kaby Lake system, the upgrade to Coffee Lake simply isn't worth it for gaming performance alone. Only gamers who have a need for streaming, encoding, and other multi-threaded tasks will likely see true benefits from switching. If this applies to you, it is a damn shame that you can't just pop a Coffee Lake chip into your 100 or 200 series motherboard as the 8th gen CPUs do have different pin configurations than their predecessors. Compared to the Ryzen 1700, the 8700K performed 26% better on average, which is significant. And while this certainly paints Coffee Lake as the faster gaming chip overall, not many users are using a GTX 1080 Ti to game at 1080p, like we did in today's testing. And the wide performance gap you see here is bound to shrink with a more realistic scenario that I may be testing for you guys soon. Now, if you're not on any of these platforms at the moment and you're trying to decide which one to opt for, it has to be between Ryzen and Coffee Lake, since Kaby Lake is now officially a generation old. If you only care about gaming, then Coffee Lake is the easy choice. However, the answer may not be so cut and dry when throwing workstation tasks and encoding into the mix, and although that wasn't today's focus, this is something I'll be following up with in a future video. What is certain is that you're going to be spending more money with the 8700K than you will with the Ryzen 1700, not just because of the higher MSRP, but most Z370 motherboards will be inherently pricier than AMD's B350 offerings if you plan to overclock. Not to mention, you'll need a decent aftermarket cooler to handle the warmer temperatures of Coffee Lake. Now, since most of today's games are still heavily GPU bound, Coffee Lake's added cost may not be worth it, or at least it won't have quite the price to performance for which Ryzen has so righteously raised the bar. Still, if you're just looking for the absolute best chip for gaming, it seems Intel has no plans to hand over its title anytime soon. But that's all I got for now, guys. Let me know what you think of these results in the comments. Does this change or confirm any expectations you had about the new platform? Before you guys go, feel free to toss me a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more tech stuff coming at you really soon. As always, I'm Bitwit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.